Welcome to another episode of English with Suze podcast. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to everybody that commented on the previous video that I posted a few days ago. So much love and support, and there's also a lot of new people here. I noticed that a lot of you commented that that video was kind of like a recommendation on YouTube. So there's a lot of new people here, so welcome. I am so happy to have you here, and I'm so happy to be able to do this podcast, which is something that I've been planning on doing kind of for a very long time. So I saw the momentum was really good, and I just kind of wanted to keep it up. So I just honestly decided to make another episode today. I usually post once a week, but I was like, you know what? Why not? Right? Why not? And I'm getting way more comfortable with this kind of format. So I'm probably not going to edit this at all. I usually add the introduction, and I'm just going to start talking to you. But yeah, I mean, this is super cool, and I was gonna say something and I forgot, of course. I was gonna say something important. Oh yeah, so for those who don't know, I actually have a TikTok account, which is my main kind of social media platform that I work with. And over there, I post a lot of English content in terms of teaching. So if you're curious to check it out, my TikTok is English with Suze, and it'll probably be the first one that shows up. But I'm actually starting this new series there. I've posted 4 episodes, which is called English for Rookies, and I'm basically teaching certain key things for those who are learning English from zero. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you check it out. And my YouTube channel, it's not going to be a lot of teaching, it's just going to be more of like a conversation situation. So yeah, and today, speaking of podcast, I wanted to come over here and talk to you about a few things that you need to avoid. You don't need to, but I would avoid when you're learning English. So I thought it would be a great episode for you. So just take a seat, pay attention to, new vocabulary words, how I'm conjugating the verbs, take some notes if you'd like, and let's get started. So I have a few things to talk about today, and the first thing I'm going to say, okay, it's working. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you is when you're first learning English, and I mean learning because in the beginning we make more mistakes, right? And we're not as confident. The first mistake that people make is they want to speak fast, right? They want to just talk and talk and talk because they want to sound native, they want to sound a certain way. And I am here to tell you that you should not do that. The reason why, it's because a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, like technical mistakes, when they're first starting to speak English because they're not speaking slower. And the reason why speaking slow is so important in the beginning is because when you speak slow, you have time to think, pay attention, and make sure you're speaking correctly, right? So, excuse me. So that's crucial when you're first starting your journey with English. You need to kind of take a step back and take your time when you're speaking, right? Now, don't get confused. It's one thing to speak slower. It's another thing to every 2 words in one sentence, you keep going, and then you're quiet, and then that's you don't need to do that, okay? If you do that, that's fine. In the beginning, that's normal. But speaking slow, it's pretty much what I'm doing right here, You take your time to pay attention to how you're speaking. And speaking slower will also help you with your pronunciation, okay? So when you're trying to speak super fast and you're just like going on and on and on about it like this, you don't have time to really like pronunciate the words. Pronunciate? Is that how you say it? Pronunciate? You need to work on your pronunciation. That's what I'm trying to say. And you're not going to be able to do that when you're speaking super fast. Okay? So, in the beginning, take your time. Don't like just with your words. Don't do that. Take your time. Especially, like, I feel like a lot of people, including me when I was learning English in the beginning, we talk to ourselves a lot, right? That's super important because sometimes that's all you have to practice your speaking. Especially when you're on your own practicing English, just calm down. Don't speak super fast. There's no need to rush. It's literally just you and that's it, you know? So just take your time, okay? Take your time. Now let's move on to the second topic of things that you should avoid in the beginning. The first thing that you should avoid, and I don't mean avoid, but I mean, yeah, kind of. Be careful, you know, for those who like to use music to practice and learn English, be careful with what kind of artists you're using to do that, okay? Essentially, what I'm trying to say is some singers, they most definitely have a, like, I don't even know how to say this in English. In Portuguese, we say dicção, but they don't, like, it seems like they don't project their words, you know? I don't know how to explain this, but sometimes even me, like, I am fluent in English, right? I mean, English is, like, I speak English majority of my day. And sometimes I'm listening to certain artists that I can't understand a word that they're singing. Why do you have to be careful with this? Because when you're having a hard time understanding what someone is saying, like during a song, you're going to put that guilt on yourself. You're going to think, oh, I don't understand because I don't know. And sometimes when you're looking at the lyrics, you know what that person is saying. You understand what that person is singing. But because of the way that person projects their voice and their words, which is that person like problem, you're not able to really understand it. And then what happens is we put that guilt on ourselves. And then what happens when you put guilt on yourself? You don't have confidence. What happens when you don't have confidence? You'll likely give up. That's what I'm trying to say. So pay attention, be careful. Like one of the artists that I absolutely adore her, and it's funny because I did use her to practice my English in the beginning, is Lana Del Rey. I love Lana Del Rey because I like her music, but also because she speaks slower. You know, she sings slower, like, songs. So it's just easier to understand what she's saying. And she actually, like, projects her words, you know? But then other artists, I'm just like, dude, what are you saying? Like, I can't understand a word that you're saying. So you need to be careful, you know? Like, I'll give you an example. It'll be much easier for you to use Lana Del Rey's, like, music to practice your English other than getting a rap song. Those rappers, they are, one, using a lot of slang terms that, frankly, I don't even know what they're saying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love rap, like, it's so fun. But they're using a lot of slang terms that you're going to have a hard time understanding what they're trying to say. They talk super fast, and they put a bunch of, like, weird stuff in their, like, voice that it makes it even harder to understand what's happening. It's a vibe, you know? It's that kind of, like, it's music to vibe and have fun. I don't think it's music for you to sit down and be like, okay, let me practice my English. I mean, if you're able to do that, I'll be clapping my hands, but I just think that most people will have a hard time. So I recommend, if you were to ask me, what's your recommendation? I'd say Lana Del Rey, okay? And it's not because she's awesome and I love her music. It's actually because I literally used her to practice because she's, like she has slower music. She projects her voice and her words when she's singing. And I just think it's a great idea. So give it a try. And if you really don't like it, maybe find someone else, okay? But just aim for slower music. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope this is making sense to you. Anyways, what else was I going to say? I usually never have a script with me. I never have notes or anything. I just it's very natural over here. I just click, start, and record, and I start talking to you. And I should have prepped something, huh? Those were the only 3 things that I really thought about, I'm trying to think. What were the other things? I remember now. Sorry, guys. I had to cut because I had to think, and I don't want to be here thinking for 2 minutes just, for nothing. But the last thing that you need to avoid is a lot of people when they're learning English in the beginning, they how do I say this without getting canceled? They try to sound super American, A lot of people, they want to Americanize the heck out of the way they speak, And I'm not criticizing people that do that. You do you. I just think that when you're trying to force a way of speaking, you will make mistakes because essentially in the beginning, you should not be paying attention to how cool you sound, how American you sound, how, California coded girl you sound. You don't want to pay attention to those things because that's not the right time to do that. You need to pay attention to your pronunciation, to how you're conjugating the verbs, to not making mistakes, to how you're making those sentences and how you're connecting those sentences also. So you need to pay attention to that. Don't fall on this dilemma of I need to sound like Kylie Jenner. You don't need to sound like anybody. You need to sound like yourself. But for you to sound like yourself, you need to know how to speak, right? For you to know that, you need to practice. And when you're practicing and you keep focusing on secondary things that will come with time or things that you still have a long way to go, you're just going to get confused. You're going to start not pronunciating the words correctly, and it's just going to be a whole mess, and nobody's going to understand what you're saying, For example, I'm going to give this example, and I really hope that Anita's fans don't come for me, but listen, I love Anita. She's a queen. I love her. I love her. Sorry. However, when she first started her international career, which now she has a huge career here, but when she first started, she would go to interviews and she would speak English, and her English was immaculate. She's really good. She speaks perfect. She's really good in, when it comes to speaking English. But in the beginning, she would try to Americanize her accent so much, that it was impossible to understand her. I promise you, that woman knows how to speak English, but she wanted, I don't know if she wanted to do that. I personally don't think so, because I think that Anita is she knows who she is, but I think that maybe it was she wanted to kind of blend in, maybe that was a marketing strategy too, in terms of her being a part of whatever we have here. So she was trying to blend in. Thankfully she stopped doing that and now she speaks normal, but I feel she would do that, and I don't know the reasons behind, but like I said, I don't think it was she didn't like the way she sounded. I think it was mostly for work, to blend in. that, like I said, it would be really tough to understand whatever the heck she was trying to say, you know? And it's like, I'd watch those interviews and I'd be like, dude, you speak really good English. Why are you trying to sound like this? Like, it's really hard to understand you, you know? Plus, having accents, it's hot, you know? Like, so why? Why, you know? So yeah, like that's one thing that I would highly recommend you to avoid. Don't try to Americanize the heck out of your English, because that's not the right time for you to do that. You know, it's time. It takes time, you know. You think I've always sounded like this? No. Like, it took time, you know. Like, I've been living here for almost a decade. But I guarantee, like, when I first started, I had a thick accent. It just takes time. But the reason why I was able to get away from that accent, it's because I focused on the foundations of English. I focused on speaking correctly. I focused on speaking slow, so I'm able to pay attention and project the words and, you know, like, not make mistakes and conjugate the verbs correctly. So just, it takes time. Don't force it. Don't rush it, because you will sound completely wrong and people are going to have a really hard time understanding you. So yeah. And that's it for today's podcast, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and, you know, comment down below whatever ideas you have for our next episode. I'm super excited to come back here and film for you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.